What's up, good people? I am here finally. Finally. Let me know that you can hear me by typing day 7 or the verdict is not yet in in the chat to let me know you can hear me. And also let me know where you guys are viewing from. I'm watching the chat. Okay, I'm seeing the day 7s. There we go. All right. Oh, and that chat is moving. I will try to fix the speed of this chat after this live. I'm sorry, y'all. There's just so much going on. So I don't know the way to slow down the chat without looking it up. I've only done it like once or something. So anyway, we're putting things together. Be patient with us. But what's up to our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch friends who are joining us tonight? I'm trying Twitter for the first time. I added it to the stream. I have no idea how that's going to work, if it works at all. But if it does, what's up, Twitter family? I know y'all have missed me because usually I'm on there daily acting a fool. And I've been too busy. Almost like I got a 9 to 5 because I'm at court most of the day. And then by the time I get out of court, I'm getting ready for this. And then after that, it's bedtime. So, yeah, I'll see y'all next week, Twitter family. And also make sure as you are coming in, please hit that like button. Show me some love. Definitely also remember that another way to show love is to share this video. It really helps this channel grow. And also, don't forget that we have our VIP text community. It's a place. Oh, I don't have it going. Give me a second. I'm a little rusty right now, y'all. Let's see. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, here it is. This is the one we want. So as you see on the screen scrolling below, join our Facebook. Join our VIP text community where you can get updates on this Tim Norman story. I was updating our VIPs today on what was happening while the jury was deliberating. Yeah, I was able to update them, and I was in the media room, so it allowed me, I could actually use my phone and stuff. So I was able to get out a few more updates than the usual. Also, the text community allows you to get updates on this channel, such as when I upload videos, the video notifications, because, YouTube ain't always on it. When it comes to that, it's hard for me to even find my own. When I put the notifications or schedule these videos, I have to click a bunch of times and keep coming back and forth to my channel to even see it. It's kind of strange. But anyway, and also, it also allows you to have a level of influence into the decisions that happen while building this community and building this channel. Everything from, creating logos, the thumbnails, video ideas. I actually sent out a question this morning to the VIP community about what they want me to cover next after, we get a little bit of a reprieve from this. And then also personal updates, little tidbits about me for those of you who care. For those of you who don't, there's way more going on than stuff about me on there. Also, there are many ways to show your support on this channel, including Cash App, Zelle, Venmo. There are also free ways to do it. This is, because that's if you would like to do it. It's not required, but it's hugely appreciated, and it goes a long way to help this channel grow. But also there are free ways to give, such as liking and sharing this video as well as the others. Then we move on to our community guidelines, aka our purpose-driven community rules of engagement. This is very important. So this is where we need to have our listening ears. I come from a child care background, so don't take it as an insult. It's just the way I talk sometimes. But anyway, make sure that you don't put any profanity in our chat. I thought about last night as I was kind of watching a little bit of our live from last night. I couldn't watch the whole thing. That was 3 hours, y'all. What y'all have me doing? 3 whole hours. But anyway, the little tidbit that I caught when I kind of did the community guidelines, and I was saying how it could affect my monetization and make me earn less money and restrict my videos. And I said, you know what? Some people gonna want to do that. they like, good. Now let me type some curse words. So for those who might type those curse words on purpose, even though I'm saying it would negatively impact this channel and my revenue, just know that we have wonderful moderators that will be more than happy to assist you in removing those comments by deleting them if they have profanity in them. So if you feel the need to use profanity and you're not doing it to try to jeopardize this channel, just type the word in incorrectly, misspell it. And then also, please do not type the word ill with a K or smurder. I think I think YouTube might even be getting me for the smurder word. But anyway, please do not type those in the chat. Same reason same reason we don't want to type the profanity. And if you make a mistake, we're all human. It happens sometimes. Our wonderful moderators will be more than happy to assist you in deleting that comment. So, also, this is my virtual home. This is like as if you have come into the doors of my home. I've invited you in. We're new friends. And with that, just like in real life, my virtual life, I have rules that apply for those who interact with me on in face to face. Like there are certain things I'll allow and there are certain things I won't. It's the same with this platform. And so those things that we must do in order to participate on this platform is be kind, be respectful, and disagree. I saw someone put this, so I'm still in this. Whoever put this in the chat yesterday, one of our moderators, disagree without being disagreeable, meaning don't insult this community, any members in this community, or the host, which is me. So as long as you can adhere to that, we're going to have fun and welcome aboard. And then the call to action to the moderators, because, I'm going to do this at least a few more videos because all the moderators aren't in every video. So if you are a moderator, that means you have the blue wrench. Please hit me up in our VIP community, text me and let me know that you are a moderator and give me your YouTube name so that I can add you to our private group chat so that I can send you mass messages when I have things to communicate with you guys. And, when I want to do things to celebrate you guys and thank you for your diligence in this. Now, with that being said, this live is starting 2 hours later than I scheduled it for at 7 something this morning. I think that was. And what I want to say is I didn't do it. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. We today know that we had closing arguments and the jury went into deliberation. And I just knew that we would be done by noon because I knew they were doing closing arguments this morning. So I'm like, I know we're going to be done by noon or 1 or whatever. And so I expected to be here in this Airbnb chilling and just doing stuff. And I was like, yeah, we can go live at 6 because it was late last night. And, I even talked to our moderators who are below. Our backstage moderators for today is Alice, blessed child of God, and also Go Gadget Bridget, who is my birthday twin. We are both Aries, a very wonderful sign. And we were both born on April 17th, I think, of the same year. I think we're actually the same age as well. Like we're literally birthday twins. Thank both of the ladies back there. They're doing an amazing job. I really appreciate you ladies. But with that, I think it is time. Are you guys ready? Let me know in the chat if you are ready for us to get into these notes. And this one, y'all can never see this, but the notes. This is today. You can see it when I do a little angle. Today I actually officially started with my second notebook. No lie, I have notes that have completed this notebook by I think I had like three or four pages or something left in here. So I didn't take it to court today because I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna fit everything on those few little pages. So we're in our new notebook now. We still got a little bit more to go with the verdict. So, all right, everybody's ready. I see y'all over there in the chat. Let me move this over so I can see it better without turning my head so much. All right, so let's get into it. So, y'all, I'm struggling again, y'all. I think I'm gonna need bifocals, and it's sad. I'm getting depressed, y'all. This is not cool. It's not cool at all. I mean, I'm old, but I ain't that old. Anyway, okay, so we get to Tim. Y'all know how we doing. We're setting the scene. So we get to court. Before court is in session, Tim arrives. Tim today had on a blue checkered pinstripe suit. I don't know if I'm describing that correctly, but it was a darker blue, not quite navy, I don't think, but it was like a darker blue pinstripe suit. And I think it was just like the square pin, like the thin lines that make squares, like a checkered kind of thing. And he also had on another turtleneck, but it wasn't the black one. It wasn't the gray one. Today he did a tan one. He must have been watching the video last night. He was like, could y'all give me another turtleneck? Because Vail keep talking about me. Anyway, there were 2 U.S. Marshals. Again, as usual, there are always 2 Marshals. But, I like to tell you who's who and who was with them. So one was the same CIA acting guy from before, the white guy who was sitting next to Tim maybe 2 days last week or something, whatever I told y'all. So he was back, but today he was furthest away from Tim, sitting closer to Judge Ross and the courtroom clerk. Then we actually had another marshal. It was an older black gentleman today. So not the younger guy that I told you guys about. This guy was probably in his, I would say 50s, early to mid 50s, something like that. He was really, he was dressed, they dress in suits, those guys. But to me, he looked more like church dapper, kind of like deacon. I mean, he wasn't bad looking, as far as the way he was dressed or anything. But those of y'all who know what I'm saying, when it was kind of like he was deacon sharp. And so then we move on to, I'm going to give you the Griggs family. So the Griggs family, there were 8 of them today. It's really, usually the same family members. They hold tight. I love how they support each other. I love it. Like you could feel their connection just through how they interact with each other. But we had Michelle Griggs, Mama Griggs is still here. Mama Griggs, rather. We had Darren, that's big brother. We had the sisters. I wish I knew their name, but I don't like to bother them to say, hey, what's your name? Then we had the aunts and the cousin. And so it was a total of 8 of them. And then we get to the Montgomerys. And so the Montgomerys at first, there was really nobody over there. And I was like, well, maybe they're going to miss this part of it. So it started out with just Big Ed, and then Calvin came in. So Calvin, if you remember, give me a second. Where he at? Here he is. So Calvin, it was him and it was Big Ed. And then eventually more people started to come. And so then, why am I struggling? Oh, I put them further down. They came a little late. So then we had Janice, Miss Robbie's sister Janice and Linda, they came. Monique came. And then Michelle from the show as well. I still didn't pull her picture up tonight. I didn't pull any extra pictures tonight. So they were there. And then Miss Robbie as well. So Miss Robbie, you know how we do. We got to describe what Miss Robbie had on. So once again, Miss Robbie was sharp. Today she had on a pinstriped pantsuit. It was pink and gray. So pink and gray kind of stripes. And y'all know I ain't good with the fashion, so I don't know about the materials and stuff. But to me, it looked very, very rich. It looked expensive. So I was like, is that cashmere? Because, cashmere is a softer, felty looking kind of material that just looks very good. So whatever she had on, I guarantee you was expensive. And she had her face, again, like yesterday, was beat. Was in a good way. That means in a good way for those of you who don't know. That means her makeup was tight. Like maybe she had a makeup artist come over this morning. And what I noticed as well is that she had a light pink nail polish. So the nail polish I told you were on her toes yesterday with the open toe boot high heel shoe thingamajig. She had pink nails as well that I didn't notice yesterday. So I'm assuming that she's, was matching yesterday as well. I did not see her. Please don't get mad at me. But I did not see her shoes today because she was already in the courtroom by the time I came, because I had went to the media room first to secure my seat at a table. And then I came over after I placed my stuff over there. So by then, Miss Robbie was already over there sitting down. So I never saw her shoes. And then what else did I have? Oh. So y'all know how y'all like to get the tea. So here's some tea for y'all. Now, this is speculation. I have no idea if it's true. I'm just describing what I saw, and I'm giving opinion. This is all opinion. But myself and another person noticed that at a certain point, a gentleman came, and he was in the back, He came through the back door. Well, he came through the courtroom door, which is in the back of the back. And Miss Robbie turned around, like maybe somebody got her attention or something, and she waved to the guy, like, come to me, basically, come sit down. The guy came and he sat down next to him. We were like, I was talking to the person who hadn't, I think this was their first day or something. And so I was saying, oh, he's new, like, because they're like, well, who is that? I was like, I don't know, because he's new. So he's sitting next to Miss Robbie, like, you know, ain't nothing, like, whatever. But when he sat next to her, he did, oh, I gotta use this on. He did this. And so it was like, oh, okay. And the person asked me who, that's when they asked me who it was. And I was like, I don't know. It didn't really click to me until he ended up taking his arm down and he was talking to somebody else. And then he did it again. And then when I really paid attention, I was like, Miss Robbie. Because this dude, we know Miss Robbie's about 83, I think, 82, 83. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but about 82 or 80, I think she's 83. This dude, y'all want to guess the age? Please guess the age of this guy that sat next to Miss Robbie and had his arms around. And I know this is pure gossip. This is messy, but y'all wasn't there. Y'all didn't see it, and we couldn't giggle together. Okay, Miss Robbie's 82. She ain't 96. Don't do that. Miss Robbie's not. y'all saying the guy was 96. Okay, I see 45. Y'all got all kind of ages, and this chat is speeding. So the guy, he was definitely in his late 50s, early 60s. And he was actually a handsome dude, kind of like a sturdy, solid dude, but he was dressed really well. Miss Robbie got her young man. Well, this is assumption. I don't know. It could have been a cousin who just, you know, but this wasn't like how you put your arm around a cousin. This is how you put your arm around your woman or your man. You know, really your woman. So I could be making this up. Somebody's probably going to tap me on the shoulder tomorrow because I've been getting tapped on the shoulder quite a bit now. So if it ain't true, somebody probably correct me tomorrow. And if they do, I'll come back and tell y'all that it is not true if it's not. But it looked, and a person who was sitting next to me totally agreed. They noticed it before I did. So anyway, but I'm loving that for Miss Robbie. She needs all of the goodness that she can get. I know some of y'all don't agree with that, but I do. But she needs all the happiness she can get. Okay, so so speaking of corrections that I received, because I'm noticing based on today that there are way more people watching this who are part of this situation than I ever thought. And so one of the marshals she won't give me her name. She won't give me her name. But you know who you are. But she corrected me today and told me that when I talk about the television staticky sound, they call it white noise, which I know that, but you know, it wasn't even clicking to me to call it white noise. I think I might have mentioned that, but anyway, they call it white noise. That's a official terminology, not TV static. But y'all know how I do. I'm ignorant sometimes. Okay, so also I was told about Gwen Carroll, who is the co-counsel for the government for the prosecution. I was told where I could go to find her photo. And this was by it was a combination of a federal agent and I think a U.S. Marshal telling me where I could find her picture for this, but I didn't have time to do it. Y'all see how late we are with this. So I didn't have time to find it. So today, moving on. So today the courtroom was not too crowded for in the very beginning. It was, I would say, it was about at like 60% capacity. And thank you so much for the super chat. We're going to figure out the best way to do these super chats. I think the ladies, I think we agreed yesterday, they'll star them for me. Hopefully they'll stay there. And then I'll take like little breaks periodically and try to recognize the super chats and answer questions. We're going to figure this out. We're still working through it. But thank you for the super chat. And all the ones that are, you know, have come and will come. Really appreciate it. Okay. So before the session started, before court was in session, we were on the record outside of the hearing. What I noticed before Judge Ross really got things rolling, Tim was talking with Miss Robbie from across the courtroom. So remember, when Miss Robbie comes, she really sits on the first row. And so Tim just looks over to the side and they're like, you know, mumbling at each other. Now, I usually tell y'all I can't tell who he's talking to. Well, this time it wasn't a lot of people there. On top of that, Miss Robbie was kind of leaning in, like leaning forward. and they were bantering back and forth, like whispery, but I guess they were probably talking, but I was further away, so I couldn't hear it. And there was, some nodding and a little smiling here or there. So they were communicating. I guess she had forgiven him for the stunt he tried to pull yesterday with with firing Michael Leonard, his attorney. There's some stuff about that too. I'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, I put here that Timmy was sleepy, meaning Tim. Tim ended up, he was yarning, and I was like, well, maybe he was up all last night watching watching our 3-hour live. All of us probably were sleeping this morning. And so he was yarning, which I had never seen him do that. So I don't know if like this is wearing him out at this point. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you too. And then Judge Ross, John Ross, and this is what I was calling Tim's attorney, John Leonard, because I was mixing their names together. I don't know how that happened in my brain. But Judge John Ross ended up, he started out by thanking both of the prosecution and the defense for meeting outside of the court hours to work together to like hash things out for the jury instructions, etc. And so they then kind of wait, did I go right into that? Hold on one second. Let me catch up. I don't want to jump ahead too much. Okay, and then I went to they ended up calling the jury in. Wait, is that right there? Oh no, this is before. So Judge Ross started reading over some of the jury instructions that would be given to the jury, and this is still before they came out. As this was happening, and they were just hashing out a few of them, he wasn't reading verbatim everything, but as he was doing that, I'm looking over at Tim. Tim was staring at Judge Ross as he was reading the instructions, so he was really paying attention intently. What I also noticed, because again, when stuff like that is happening, I get a little bored. I keep myself interested by looking around the courtroom and seeing what everybody's doing. And so what I noticed was the paralegal for the prosecution, they sit at a rectangular table, and y'all saw on the map. They sit at a rectangular table, and her back was to me, but I could see her computer monitor from afar, but I could see it. And I could tell that she was working on like the PowerPoint presentation for the closing arguments. And I saw Trevelle's picture and the map, like the phone maps. And I was like, oh, this is about to be epic. Like she getting ready to go in. So she was like, putting the final touches on that while Judge Ross was going over the jury inspection. So I just said here, PowerPoint was looking tight. So then we moved to the government made a motion prior to the trial that there be given a disclaimer to the jury that they should not consider missing witnesses. So if they expected any witnesses to testify that ended up not testifying for whatever reason, so we're talking about pretty much YL and maybe Chris Carroll or whatever else, I don't know, that happened behind the scenes, they don't want those jurors to consider that as like, well, ooh, that must be a problem. This is something wrong here, because they don't want them to be prejudiced by that. So they're supposed to be told, don't take that into consideration whether or not a witness showed up and actually appeared. So then attorney Michael Leonard, this is Tim's attorney, wanted to, for those of you, I forgot, like different people watch different lives. Some people didn't see last night. So this is Tim's attorney, Michael Leonard. So then, and this is the prosecution's, I think she's the lead attorney. Good Lord, y'all know I'm bad with names. And hold on, because I know, hold on, give me a second, y'all. Give me a second. It's not far. I'll be able to find it quick. Angie Danis. So Angie Danis is the lead attorney, and then we have, I'm not going to say she's the lead. I think she's the lead, but I don't know for sure. And then we have Gwen Carroll, and Gwen, I'm going to find your picture by tomorrow's live. So let's see. Or somebody want to email it to me, that's fine too, or send it in the text community. Okay. Oh, so then Michael Leonard asked Judge Ross if he could. Now, so mind you, The government is saying we don't want any mention. Well, we want the jury to basically not consider about witnesses, whether or not they actually testified or appeared or whatever. Michael Leonard then asked Judge Ross, well, can I ask if the government had an opportunity to call a missing witness? So can he mention it? So could he mention in his closing argument, like, well, they had an opportunity to call Yagnam, but they chose not to. Why didn't they choose not to? What are they hiding? Like he wanted to do that. And so he's asking Judge Ross for permission to do that. And Judge Ross was like, yeah, you're doing what they're saying we don't want to do. He said, you're just rephrasing it, but you're doing the same thing. So then they talked about how much time that the prosecution and the defense would have for closing arguments. So the government said that they're taking their 45 minutes, but they were going to split it between between Angie Danis and Gwen Carroll, attorney Angie Danis and attorney Gwen Carroll. I want to be proper with their names. So they decided that Angie Danis would have the 30 minutes, and then no, did they do it back? They did it backwards. So Gwen Carroll had the 30 minutes, and y'all correct me in the chat, like, Jesus, my brain, because I'm like, am I remembering this correctly? So I think she had the 15 minutes, and this is Angie Danis. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. They split it, basically. One had 30 minutes, one had 15 minutes, which, wrapped it up until the 45 minutes. And then when it came to Tim's attorney, that team, he ain't let attorney Rodriguez. And I like her. She seems like a very nice lady. But his attorney did it all by himself, the whole 45 minutes. And that's interesting. Wait till I get to that. So then Judge Ross then called a brief recess so that they could, gather the jurors and have them, come out. So then the jurors return from, yesterday's session. They return, and then this was around 9:40. So keep in mind, court, it's supposed to be in session about 8:45, but usually, we get started somewhere around 9. So around 9:40, so they've done all the other preliminary things. So that lasted close to 40 minutes, I think. And then we got started with the jury and Judge John Ross reading the jury instructions at 9:40. So then and I'm just giving like some bullets. He went over, and I stopped counting at a certain point because I was in the media room and I was getting sidetracked with communicating with some of y'all VIP members and stuff. So I was in and out, like I was kind of listening for like key things. So I want to say he had somewhere around 20 something bullet points of instructions for them to consider. And some of them that I highlighted was civil rights. So no discrimination based on age, race, gender, orientation. He talked about them being mindful of unconscious bias. And then I was kind of like, part of the unconscious bias is you're unconscious about it. So good luck with that. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how that works. And, this is supposed to be Tim's peers, so we'll see how that goes. So he was warning them about unconscious bias. He gave a slight little overview of what unconscious bias meant and just told them, to be mindful that we all have it. No, it's not really based on your race. We all have it, no matter what your race is and whether you recognize it or not. We all have it. So then he told them what is not considered to be evidence. And so he went into detail. I ain't write all that for y'all. He talked about he talked about how objections are not evidence. So when the prosecution or defense objected to something and they may have heard some of it or all of it and it got objected to, they're supposed to forget that ever happened. It didn't exist. You can't say, well, they objected to it, but I had heard that Travell had heard that Dre was saying his baby was his
Oh my God. Hey, you guys, he'll be right back. His internet is messing up, but I'm in the background, so I don't have any notes, so I can't tell you, but he'll be right back. He's coming. He's getting ready to fix it. Jesus, fix it. Lord, fix it. I see y'all down there. Jesus, fix it. He's coming right back. So as soon as he comes back up, everybody, yeah, wait right here. Y'all can still put your comments up. Did anybody guess how old they thought? Well, I guess because he said it. Somebody said something in the comments that Miss Robbie's boo thing was on the show. Does anybody got any info on that? Oh, y'all said it was 50. Okay, because I was too busy putting y'all comments up. I'm sorry.
Hello, can y'all hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. I was
All
just trying
right.
to oil y'all with me. Hey, Bridget. Can you hear me, Bridget?
Yes, I can hear you good.
Okay, excellent. I'm dropping you down. Thank you. Hello, can y'all hear me? Just making sure. Give me, okay, I see yes, 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 yes. Sorry, that was an amateur move. This is new to me, but I appreciate y'all for, oh, these numbers dropped. Look at y'all. Some of y'all fair weather. It's all right though. Don't watch this later. Don't come back. Don't come back. Yeah, what had happened was I never plugged up the computer, and this is the one I was using all day, and it didn't warn me. It just went out, and you gotta love Max for doing that. Hold on, let me make sure this Wi-Fi is on the right. Yeah, it's on the right one. Okay, good. I think I figured out the issue with the Wi-Fi. Well, it's slowing down again. I guess it happened. Anyway, let's get back to it. So now let me see where I leave off. So we're at the Judge Ross going over the jury instructions. And so he's going point by point. He told them, not to consider evidence when it's objected to by either the prosecution or the defense. He said that when they objected and he said sustained, that means that they should have ignored that question. And I actually jumped ahead. I hope I'm not freezing too much, because it looks like I'm freezing a lot over here. Looks great. Can y'all see me? Like, am I freezing real bad like last night at the very end? I don't know what yes mean. Yes, I'm freezing. Yes, you can see me. I see the heart and the fire emojis. I didn't do it. That's for you who sent the super chat. I was trying to see. Jesus be the internet. Amen for that. Right. Y'all my true fans. Ain't nobody telling me whether or not my signal is really bad, though. Y'all say everything but that. I guess it's fine. Loud and clear. Okay, good. As long as y'all can hear my voice, treat it like a podcast. All the other technical difficulties, it is what it is. It's life. Anyway, he said that when it comes to the witnesses who, they're using their memory for things. And so sometimes they can say things that are incorrect or misleading. And it can sometimes be innocent or non-intentional. And so he wanted them to, or intentional. And so he wanted them to basically use their, best judgment in deciding that. And, especially yesterday with Tim's testimony. And then he said the burden of proof actually remains on the prosecution. So it is their job to prove that Tim is guilty and provide evidence that, proves beyond a shadow of doubt, I think is what they say, that he is guilty. So it is their job. And so he says he then started to review 1, 2, and 3, which Tim was indicted for. And then he gave the instructions and parameters for consideration. I ain't write all that, and I'm not going to reread the counts. Y'all will see that in I got other videos out there with that. And then you'll see it in a pre-recorded video as well. So then he says, he then started talking about association and how that relates to whether or not a person is guilty, whether or not they actually completely carried an act out, or whether or not they were aware, or whether or not they played a role in it, but not a complete role. So almost like what we're talking about with Terica, who her role was only to lure Andre. DJ Beats, he's not charged at all or implicated. But, his job was only to hand off the money to Travail and, and so on. And then he got to talking about, Judge Ross started talking about wire fraud, and then the defendants act in good faith. Good faith. I quote that because that's what he said. He says, he said that errors or omissions, like they should be considering if the errors or omission of a witness were purposeful. And when it comes to the wire fraud piece, the errors and omissions in this, completing of the applications and all of those things, were they errors, or was it something they just didn't say? They knew was wrong. They just never said that it was wrong. Or they knew otherwise and they didn't give all of the facts. He said that it would have to be completely false, fraudulent pretenses. And then he talked about how they would have to knowingly or intentionally deceive. So these are all things that they should be considering when it comes to Tim in relation to the wire fraud. Give me a second to understand my own chicken scratch. So I kind of jumped ahead and I talked about this. He said it is not necessary that they prove that the person knew everything about a conspiracy in order to be guilty. And then he talked about, oh no, that's me. And then I said, I like to get a little sidebar stuff. So my observation was that I was in the overflow where the media area was and the overflow courtroom for the public was. And at this point, even the overflow was packed. It was, I think I had that at about 80% capacity. And then he talked about the fact that the medical examiner never testified. And I was actually surprised because I was actually expecting that. And I was hoping to see that so that we could really get clarity on, the details of what actually happened to Andre that, really took his life, as far as once, we know he was shot, but the details of that. And so he then described what was in the medical examiner's report, as far as Andre received two gunshot wounds, one to his upper abdominal, and then the other to his upper right arm. And then he talked about the medical examiner's name was Dr. Turner. And he said they were to take note of the findings from Dr. Turner's results. Even though Dr. Turner did not testify, they could take the report at face value. Like, is this factual? It's okay to roll with that. Thank you. I'll fix that. Actually, I have to sign in as a backup. I'm reading this message on the screen, the comment. The voice is good. Maybe have an avatar, since you're not really showing visuals, but we do like seeing your handsome face. Thank you so much for the compliment. But yeah, I'll do a backup. I know how to do that, and I just was rushing and did not. But anyway, back to this. So then we get into the closing argument. So this is where it gets interesting. So then Gwen Carroll, so I did write it down. So Gwen Carroll was the prosecutor, the co-counsel prosecutor, who actually did the 30-minute closing argument on behalf of the government. And she started by saying her closing argument was in two parts. So she started talking about first the 5 fraudulent life insurance policies that Tim had took out. So this is an innocent guy who just loved his, nephew, and all of these things just happened around him. And she then went on to say, he's so loving and all of this, but Tim couldn't even be bothered to remember the birthday of his nephew. He knew of his nephew that he mentored and loved so much. She was going in. Gwen, you were going in today. So she then says he applied for 5 policies for his nephew in whom he wouldn't even experience a financial loss with the loss of Andre. Because one of the reasons for insurance is for the person that if they were no longer in your life, you would experience a financial loss. Like there's a connection to that. That's what they want when it comes to insurance policies. They don't just hand them out all willy-nilly. It's got to be like, why would you need a life insurance policy on this person? If they were no longer here, how would this affect you financially? And so Andre not being here would not affect Tim financially. In this particular situation as a nephew. Now, if he was an employee or a business partner, it would be a little bit different. There's some gray area with that. So then he said then Gwen Carroll, attorney Gwen Carroll said 5 months before he told Yagnam that Dre wouldn't make it 6 months via text. He then said, we'll have to talk in person. And she says, that's because that's how Mr. Norman does his dirty work. These are quotes. This ain't me. She said, in person and via burner phones. She was letting him have it. So then she goes on to say, whether or not Dre signed papers shoved in his face in this alleged meeting. So when she said that, this alleged meeting, she's referring to the meeting but that Tim claims that he, Dre, and Yael Yagnam had with little Tim also in Tim's apartment years ago. No proof of that. Yael, as we know, was like, I'm gonna plead the fifth. So he never came and even validated Tim's version because he like, I'm done. You got me in enough trouble. So she then went on to talk about the false statements in the insurance applications that Tim had filed with those 5. Actually, if you count it, it's really 6 because the Prudential one she brought up, which was his own $1 million policy he had on himself, he lied on that one too. And they ain't had nothing to do with Andre. So she brought up the false statements in his insurance apps. She then brought up and said everything from, all the stuff we heard, the height, the weight, all this stuff that's incorrect. She also then said, and Andre's address being the Mangrove location, a place, it's supposed to be his home address, but it's a place that Dre barely worked at. And this is what she said. She said that, like, you're using the address of a place he barely even worked at it, but you saying it was his house. So then she says, she then went on to mention the fact that he took out this insurance policy for $450,000 with the riders. It added up to $450,000. He took it out without Michelle Griggs, Andre's mom, even knowing that he had took this policy out on her son until after he was gone, years really. And then I don't know if it was years, but after he was gone, and the police told her. He said he even went as she said, I'm sorry. Attorney Gwen said he even went as far as to text Yael, will I need his mom to sign? She's a piece of shit. So you're also hiding it from his mom. Yeah, that part got us all to hear that. Then she talked about how Tim then impersonated. I'm like, that's the wrong word. I think I did write impressed, but she then talked about how Tim went as far as to impersonate Dre while calling the insurance companies to act like he was Dre in order to get the policy put into effect. She says, okay, let me read this ahead because I don't want to mess it up, because this stuff was artful the way she was doing this. I don't want to mess it up. She said, this beloved uncle and mentor doesn't know Dre's personal information, so much so that he had to ask YL for it before he calls the insurance company, the birth date, social security number, etc. So this is your nephew that you love so much, and you took care of him, and you bought him this, and you got him an apartment, and blah, blah, blah. But you got to ask a total stranger, what's his information again? What's his birthday? Because don't you remember the birth dates of those who are close to you, who you love? Like, especially when they are like younger than you, like a child, kind of your motherly or fatherly figure to the person. So she brought that up. Then she said, how else do we know the defendant lied? That's her quote. She said he lied about Dre having a doctor, and then testified that he knew that Dre didn't have a doctor. So again, he lied to the insurance company in Forrester's Insurance in an application when he was affidavit rather, where he was trying to go back and get the money through using his attorney that time. He lied on the affidavit saying that Dre had a doctor. Then he got up on the witness stand yesterday saying he knew Dre was healthy and didn't have no doctor and hadn't been in no clinic to his knowledge. So she said, she went on to say, he lied to his Texas attorney about not really trying to collect insurance, but had called days after Dre's death and ordered a death certificate before Dre was even in the ground. Now, Tim had went online. I don't know if I ever mentioned this in any of the earlier videos through the evidence, but Tim had, so Dre passed away within, I want to say 3 to 4 days. Tim had went on, what do they call it? Vital Check, I think it's called, where you can go online and order your birth certificate, death certificate, certain official documents. This fool went on there. I'm not laughing at, y'all know how I am. I'm not laughing at this, at Dre or anything, but he went on there within days of Dre's passing and tried to order the death certificate. Days. Who the hell gonna have to, how is the county gonna have that information that quick? So, a smart dummy. So, what else do we have here? She then talked about how cell phones had been used to further his plot. So we're talking about, the wire fraud piece of this. And so she talked about how cell phone evidence is everywhere in this case. And we know that. We've seen so many text messages. It tells the story, if you ask me. It tells the whole thing. I'm wondering why the jury ain't back, didn't come back before 5. Anyway, she says, Travail called. Oh, she says that after Tim had talked to Terica, and Terica was like, Andre said that he at the La Quinta. She said that within 2 minutes of that, Tim was calling Travail to say that, to tell him basically where what Terica had told him. Because remember, Tim is saying, I had nothing to do with them, that they did that all on their own. She's like, but mysteriously, once Terica sends that text to Dre and he sends his location being at the La Quinta, then all of a sudden you calling, like mysteriously you happen to be calling Travail like a minute later. That don't, yeah, it's too much of a coincidence. She then talked about the burner phone. The fact that Terica had a burner phone. And remember, Tim's reasoning for that on yesterday during his testimony was that Terica had the burner phone at his urging because he was on the Welcome to Sweetie Pie show, and that was their way of keeping the production crew out of their personal business. That way, only things that were okay for television would show up. So she then says, this is what Gwen Carroll says. She then says, Terica needing this cell phone for the show, she said that she wasn't on. She said, in fact, they weren't even taping the show during that time. She was ripping him apart, just ripping him apart, artfully. Oh my God, I wish I could have recorded and just be playing it right now, just chilling and drinking water while y'all listen with me. But anyway, all we got is me. So then she says, and on top of that, after that, for this burner phone that was supposed to be used for hooking up and busting down, why he have her throw the phone away right after that day? Ain't this supposed to be used for future use? Ain't this for busting down? Why are you doing that? And so she then started to talk about intent. And she directed them to the instructions on of number 19. And I don't have it in front of me, so I can't tell y'all. Hopefully, I'll be able to get my hands on the jury instructions. We'll see if that works out. Let's see. She then talked about how Dre had expressed that he was scared for his life. We know that happened. He told people verbally. There was a text message exchange where he actually texted that to Miss Robbie as well, and that Tim was after him. Okay, and so she kind of wrapped it up there. Like, she did this very artfully. She did her thing. She did an amazing, Gwen, you did an amazing job. You warmed my heart with that. And we had the defense's reaction afterwards. Why did I put reaction afterwards versus closing? I don't know. So, wait, what am I saying? No. Hold on, y'all. No, she wasn't done. She wasn't done. I don't know why I wrote that. I don't know why I wrote defense reaction. I must have started writing and then something happened. I didn't finish that note. I apologize. Let's rewind. So Gwen she's still doing her closing argument. So then she says, not shocked or surprised. He told Terica once, the incident happened with Dre. Then Terica called Tim. We know that Terica called Tim like literally right after it happened. She said, and I'm not shocked or surprised that when Terica called him, he told Terica, don't call Dre and don't come back. Tim then called DJ, his friend DJ Beats, the one who he had pick up the money at the hotel. And instead of, doing anything else, instead of checking on Dre, instead of, reaching out to anyone in the family, etc., he called DJ Beats instead. She then said, and when he talked to DJ Beats, a couple days later, and DJ Beats gave his condolences, Tim said, fuck him. And then later on, days later, he calls DJ and then asked him to take the $5K to Travell. And I'm saying Travell now because I've had people saying it's Travell, and I've heard them saying in court they're saying Travell. So I think Travell didn't pronounce his own name right, is what I'm gonna go with. But someone was saying that's like his Missouri accent might have been throwing me off, and that's very possible. So it's Travell. We're gonna go with Travell again. It's, got y'all going in circles, but we're gonna go with Travell again. Okay, so she said that all he was concerned with was then getting Travell this $5,000, to which yesterday Tim testified that never happened at all. DJ Beats is lying about any $5,000, him picking up any $5,000 at a hotel, the Chase Plaza, and taking it to Travell on his behalf. That's just a total lie. I think that explains why DJ Beats ain't sitting in the Montgomery section like some of the other witnesses. That's another story. So then he said on March. Oh, then she said, I don't know why I keep saying he. Then attorney Gwen Carroll said, on March 18th of 2016, just days later, Tim calls the insurance company, the life insurance company, Forrester's, and then tries to cash in the life insurance policy on Dre. She said that then she started to talk about how the defense was trying to act like Terica was like this, highfalutin rich stripper. And she said that we all know that Terica on a good night basically made $200 to $300 on average. She said that. And so one of the things was the defense was trying to rip apart that they couldn't quite prove where Terica's money all came from, all that money that she was depositing. And so she straightened this out by saying, it's not like the Bottoms Up Club keeps meticulous records of how many dollars their strippers get. Oh, I chuckled inside. I think I made an audible like, Gwen, you wasn't playing. So then she talked about Dre's text when he finally texted Terica his address at the Natural Bridge home where he was. And she says that within seconds after Dre texts that, Terica calls Tim. She did mentions, and this, jumping around, she's very, very much so more articulate about this and artful than I am being right now. Just know these are the points that she was covering. So then she talked about how Tre'vell also threw away his burner phone and gun after this. So, again, he has nothing to do with nothing, but Tre'vell is throwing away things that are connected with Tim. Then she mentioned how DJ Beats had went to the Chase Plaza to pick up the money for Tim based on Tim's instructions. And she said, and then he left because it was disgusting. Oh, she said, DJ ended up going to the Chase Plaza in the sex den, the sex den, and left because it was disgusting. Then let's see the next one. And then she came with, and Tim did all of this before ever saying a word to Michelle Griggs. Because remember, he didn't reach out to Michelle none during this time. He didn't reach out to Miss Michelle Griggs until the funeral. Well, he didn't even reach out to her then. He walked by her and said, sorry for your condolences. What else we got? Oh, this was a good one. So I didn't even know this. I was taking it as fact of what was being presented yesterday in his testimony. But she said, and then Tim lied. And then she said, and then Tim lied on the stand about being on a layover in Minneapolis. So remember, he claimed that he had that round trip flight from St. Louis. Well, he came from California to St. Louis, and then he flew from St. Louis. He was flying back to California, but he had a layover in Minneapolis per Tim. Well, Gwen says, look at the flight records. He was still in St. Louis at the airport when Miss Robbie called him. Excuse me. So remember, I told you that Miss Robbie called him. He missed the call. Then he ended up, calling her back and talking to her. This is when she tells him that Dre is, she has to go to the morgue and identify Dre's body. He says that he then called or he texted, and we saw it. This is part of evidence. He texted Big Ed and said, I need you to meet Mama at the police station. That's all that text said. Didn't get specific. He then told us on the witness stand that the reason he did that instead of like going himself, like making his way back to St. Louis, is because he was at the Minneapolis airport waiting on his layover. He said he was there like 2 or 3 hours. And he said he remembered because it was a beautiful airport and it was his first time there. Remember, he's a script writer, y'all. He's a script writer. He can write a goddamn story. I don't know. Will he be able to do that in prison? Will he be able to give us good stories in prison? Anyway, so Gwen says, just look at the evidence. Look at the flight records. During that time, his plane hadn't even taken off yet. Tim was in St. Louis. So if you were in St. Louis and you happen to just be in your regular errands, as you claimed, you came here to do your bank withdrawals or drops or whatever, innocently, because this is a part of your routine, and your mama call you and she say, oh my God, something so tragic has happened, wouldn't you be like, oh my God, mama, that's horrible. Thank God I'm close. I'll be there in 30 minutes. I'm at the airport. I was about to fly back home, but I'm on my way. Isn't that the way it goes? Not. I'm going to say my friend. Interesting, y'all. Interesting. What y'all saying? Right. Okay. I'll be back with y'all in a minute. Okay. So then we're probably going to do a commercial break in a minute. Let me see how much more we got. Ooh, why it seem like we got this is, wait a minute. This is going to be shorter. I'm like, wait a minute. This is going to be shorter. Okay. Well, it'll probably go quick. Okay. What time is it? We a whole hour in. Okay. All right. Oh, then she talked about how all co-conspirators knew just enough to do their jobs. And she has spoke about this in their opening statements, how the only person who knew the entire plot, the entire plan, was James Timothy Norman himself. None of the other people participating in this knew what other people were doing. I think the only two, well, yeah, they didn't know what other people were doing their parts. Only Tim knew, and he was puppet stringing everyone's individual job to complete his total master plan. She then, hold on a second. Let me, because again, I want to do it as I'm reading each word, because then it comes out, I'll chop it. Let's see. Okay, this is a good part too. So then she gave a disclaimer. This is her closing out. She said she gave a disclaimer about the defenses. She gave a heads up that so I want to give you a warning that Michael Leonard is coming with his shenanigans. So she's like, I don't know if she said she was giving a disclaimer or if I gave if those got to be my words because they're not in quote. So I put that she gave a disclaimer about the defense's upcoming closing arguments, which were about to be next. She said, reason and common sense, keep that with you at all times. She said, and I'll be back to ask you for a guilty plea. So she ended up doing her argument from approximately 10:20 a.m. to 10:50 a.m. And she did part of it because, they got that was her 30 minutes and then the 15 minutes on the back end. So then we have Michael Cohen. Why do I keep calling him Michael Cohen? Michael Leonard. Who is Michael Cohen? I got to look that up. Michael Leonard. So Michael Leonard, this is Tim's attorney for those of you who don't know. Why it ain't going away? Uh-oh, this internet acting up. So he gets up there and he starts with, we can raise our voices, we can yell and shout. We can, I'm gonna reread this because I broke it up. We can raise our voices and you can yell and shout. And when he said that, I'm like, I found that to be, I was offended. I was offended because I felt it was misogynistic. And I took offense for Gwen because I felt like he was trying to do that toxic masculinity thing that men do to women. Like, you just, and he tried to act like that's what she was doing. No, she put on a damn good argument. And he came, he was, to me, that was insulting. But he does this. This is his job. Now, he does a great job. He does what he does because that's his job. That's what he's supposed to do. I get it. But I was a little offended for her because I felt like that was him trying to take a dig unnecessarily. And she wasn't yelling. So how about that? So anyway, okay, so then he talked about of the promise that they made on September 6th. And he was like, I know that felt like a year ago already. So basically the day we started the trial, it ain't felt like no damn weekend. I mean, no damn year. But he's trying to make it like, ooh, this is so long and drawn out. No, it ain't. It's way quicker than we all thought. So he asked them to find Tim innocent. And then he basically said the government did not meet their burden of proof. Y'all let me know in the comments below. Did they meet their burden of proof based on what the little bit I told y'all over the past 6 days? So then he talked about how Michelle Griggs, when she testified, couldn't even come up with a bad thing to say about Tim. Lies from the pit of hell. It wasn't that she couldn't come up with it. It was that she was testifying to what they asked her, and they really didn't get into asking her to drag Tim. I'm sure if they gave her the opportunity and opened the floor for her to drag Tim, she could have came up with plenty. We'd probably be there just listening to her from September the 6th to today, just dragging Tim. How about that? So anyway, he said that she didn't say anything bad about Tim because she couldn't come up with anything. No, she wasn't given the opportunity. Anyway, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm getting passionate about this. Foolishness. He did a good job though, but I don't like who he's trying to defend. But he did a good job. He did. So not against you, Attorney Michael Leonard. It's against the situation. Anyway, he then talked about Tim's text message with Carl Napa about having, that he was about to birth the 18-year-old. So you guys, if you remember from yesterday, those of you who were with us yesterday may remember that Tim was talking about, Tim had text Carl Napa, who was the instructor at Nelly's music school, saying that basically he was about to birth the 18-year-old know-it-all teenager or whatever. And so this is supposed to prove, based on Michael Cohen's closing arguments, that Tim was passionate and in love and a loving uncle who was just mentoring his nephew. And this shows this in this text message, because Tim didn't plan on all of this. Like, this was years ago that he sent that. And so he couldn't have been sending messages like that if he intended to take the life of Andre. Who would do that? He's not that maniacal. So then I just noticed. So then the government objects before Attorney Leonard could finish. So then Judge Ross called a sidebar. So they go on the side and they got the white noise playing. Judge Ross hits the button and we got white noise. It's not TV static, it's white noise. So we got that going on. So then they return from the sidebar. And then Judge Ross allows attorney Michael Leonard to continue with his statement. He had to, now I think he was able to just kind of go with it in a way. Maybe he corrected a little bit of it. So then, yeah, so the part I just said, I went ahead when I talked about, and he was saying, that text was 8 years ago. And, what guy would send that if he had already planned to like take the life of Andre? Then he said, and I quote, "Look at Tim's actions." I was like, that's what we're doing. That's what got us here. His actions. He said, would an evil mastermind set up Dre with an apartment, school, money, allowing him to drive all his cars? And my answer was yes, because he did. He did, because he's a mastermind and he writes scripts, and this was his plan, so it would bamboozle everyone, in my opinion, allegedly. Okay, so then he says, you don't believe he's that clever. What he says, you don't believe he's that clever. That's nonsense. Okay, if you say so, attorney Michael Leonard. So then he says, oh, I wrote this down and I've been doing it here in this live. So what I put as one of my observations was that attorney Michael Leonard, and I've told you guys in other videos that he struggles to stay on the mic. He's like a motivational speaker. He's an orator who likes to pace. He walks around, he moves a lot. I get it, because I do the same thing. Anytime I'm like on a stage and presenting to people, I move a lot. It's hard. And that's why I have to like this. I have to have the chair and all that, and I gotta be sitting down. Otherwise, I'll be wandering off screen on y'all. Oh, I hope this thing don't mess this. Okay, good. We stayed in focus. So anyway, Michael Leonard was doing that, and it was making me miss some of what he was saying. This is why I even made a note of it. And he was saying like, blah 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 blah, no blah 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 blah. Then I hear, and then it gets stupider. And it's like, well, what did you just say? Like, you're off mic. Like, can you come back over to the mic? And we were in the media room, so I missed quite a bit of what he was saying because he was wandering around. So then it wasn't like Judge Ross stopped him like he, normally would be like, could you come back over to the mic? So then we go to his next point, which was, he said that Terica testified because she was threatened by the prosecution. She was threatened by the prosecution because they told her that she would never see her children again. And so she got on stand and she became a witness because she wanted to get time, because she wants to see her kids. And so what she's saying isn't true. It's just that she doesn't want to go to jail for an extended amount of time. She wants to be able to get out as soon as possible. He actually asked Terica that on the witness stand, and she did say that they did say that. And I was like, those are their scare tactics. So, it did happen, and he used that against them. This is random observation. So at a certain point, I ran to the restroom, not giving this TMI, a little too much information, but on my way to the restroom, I noticed Big Ed and Charles were in the hallway, and Charles was actually interacting with the Griggs siblings, the sisters. And I actually had saw that yesterday. Someone pointed that out to me because they were outside during, I think, our lunch break, and they were outside like all talking together. And so it just really, I mentioned it because of the fact that there are some people who doubt that family is still close, or they interact with each other and like they're all enemies, and it's just not the case. Because they all didn't do it. It's we know who did it. So anyway, he then brought up Terica's income, and so remember, his position is y'all can't prove. I'm saying y'all can't prove. He didn't say y'all can't prove, but the prosecution or the government can't prove that $10,000 or nearly $10,000 that Terica deposited in her various bank accounts, that money came from Tim giving her $10,000. He says because we have to keep in mind that Terica was a traveling stripper. He mentioned she also has sex with men. So his position is she didn't get that 10K from Tim. She got that 10K from stripping that weekend and also having sex. Oh, I'm not supposed to say that. Having relations with men for money. And on top of that, Tim was one of those men in that number. This is Michael Leonard's version. Tim, because Terica never said she was with multiple men that weekend or anything. This is him speculating to prove a point, to prove his argument. But he says that she got the bulk of that money from that. And then he said, and then Tim he paid for his services, but he also gave her $3,000 when she mentioned the boutique. He's saying that Tim never gave her $10,000. He instead gave her the $3,000 plus her fee. And he said, you add that together, and that was the 10K. And that's what we saw go into those bank accounts. This is again his closing argument. Then he brought up the burner phones, and he said Tim basically he had all of those burner phones for all of the girls that he was with while he had a serious girlfriend. So it was his way to keep somebody putting cap all a bunch of caps. It's cap. It's definitely cap. But he was saying that Tim had those burner phones, as he told us yesterday, for the various women that he was messing around on his serious girlfriends with, meaning Janae, and then the most recent one when he got arrested. I forgot her name now. And he said, and Tim had the burner phones. Explain that his phones would be on camera, like he would have it on speakerphone. And so he said he couldn't have, because it's supposed to be a wholesome situation, wholesome family show and all of that. He couldn't have strippers calling him on camera. So this was his defense for that. I'm just telling y'all, don't judge me, judge them. So then he goes on to say, hold on, let me make sure how I wrote this, see if I can read it verbatim or if I got to ad lib. Oh, then this was interesting. He said, and on top of that, it would be impossible for Tim to come up with such an elaborate plot within 5 minutes of Terica telling him that she actually knew Andre. So attorney Michael Leonard's position is this wasn't planned out. Tim didn't come to St. Louis planning this. He ended up in St. Louis and then found out that Terica knew Andre. Not the theory that we now have found out that actually Tim had talked to Terica a couple of days or whatever before, and we think in his mind it was like, Eureka, this is who I can get to do this. He then planned that flight within 4 hours. He booked that flight and flew out 4 hours later, this is the other theory, trying to hurry up and race to STL before Terica left to go back home to Memphis. Michael Leonard's version is that, no, that's not what happened. Tim was on his regular routine, ended up, busting down with Terica like he does with other women, and that just happened to be her weekend. And then this was all a coincidence. And so he's like, there's no way on a coincidence he could come up with this elaborate plot that the prosecution is accusing him of. So then he said that would even be challenging, even for a mastermind. Okay. So then he went on to talk about how Trevel Anthony Hill. Now I'm messing myself up from calling him Trevel Anthony Hill. He went to talking about how he was on drugs all day. He was had been on a drug binge. And he said that Trevel even went as far as to say on the witness stand, there wasn't no girl involved. I don't even remember a girl. So then the government objected and said Trevel didn't say that during his testimony. And because I was like, I don't remember, when did he say that he didn't know a girl? Meaning Michael Leonard is saying that Trevel testified to the fact that there was no girl involved. Like he knew nothing about Terica. Judge Ross then stepped in and he instructed the jury to go off what they remember from Trevel's testimony. And for me, I'm like, you got to give it to him. Michael Leonard is doing his job. I believe, it could be his memory's a little different than ours. Or it could be strategy to throw something out there that is not true. Now, it could be either way. I'm not saying he could really, this could be, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a false memory. I dated somebody who had a lot of false memories. Oh my God, it would kill me because it'd be like, you said, and you had did. And I'm like, where were you? What are you talking about? This happened in your dream or something. Never happened. But people can have false memories and they can be real to them. So I think, in my opinion, that maybe Michael Leonard had a false memory of Trevel saying that he had never heard of a woman, never talked to a woman during this thing. Because I remember clearly him saying that he had got a call from Terica, and text. No, I think they talked. I can't remember. Call or text from Terica, and then that's when he knew to go to Natural Bridge. He knew it was a female. So I believe if this was strategy, it was done on purpose to confuse the jury. Like, wait, did he say that? I didn't write that. Did you write that down? What did he ever say that? And now all of a sudden, this is benefit of doubt. He's good though, y'all. That's why he costs money. That's why he's a high power. That's why he has like such a huge roster of winning cases. You doing your job. You definitely doing that. Then he said, Michael Leonard, after Judge Ross gave his instructions to the jury regarding that shenanigan, attorney Michael Leonard then says, I hope you all remembered it. He then says, I hope you all remember it the way I heard it. And then he said, because he said, I don't remember no girl. I was like, where'd you get this from? And then he had the lingo, I don't remember no girl. But I feel like, I don't remember Trevel even kind of quite talking like that. I don't remember no girl. Anyway, oh my God, sometimes this stuff. So then, then he started mentioning White Boy Chris, aka Chris Carroll, and he basically said that Chris Carroll and Trevel planned this whole thing without Tim, because he talked about how Trevel himself said that Tim never actually talked to him about a murder. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to say that word. A smurder. Tim never talked to him about taking the life of Dre, and White Boy Chris, like they never had these conversations, is what he's saying. So this was just them by themselves. He also said that this doesn't qualify as first-degree murder as it is defined in the state of Missouri. So it can't be considered because Trevel had no intent to harm Dre. He only wanted to scare Dre. What y'all saying in that chat about this? I'll repeat. It can't be considered first degree because Trevel did not intend to harm Dre. He only wanted to scare him with 2 bullets, one to the abdomen and one to the arm, like random. So his claim is that Trevel didn't want to hurt him. Now, Trevel did say that on the witness stand. He did say that. Just didn't align with his actions at all. So what Michael Leonard was saying was that Trevel, this is his theory behind how this went down. It was an accident. What happened was Trevel was so hopped up on drugs. I think he even said messed up on drugs. For some reason, I wrote messed up on drugs. Messed up on drugs that Trevel went out after Tim had asked him to go talk to Dre to try to get the items back or have Dre sell him the items back, etc., Tre'vell took it upon himself to get a gun to make this happen. And he said Tre'vell was hopped up on drugs, so he was concerned also for his safety because he was going into a very bad area, and Tre'vell was aware of this. And so Tre'vell actually got the small gun, because remember, he didn't get a Uzi or anything. He got the small gun because he was basically taking it to protect himself. And his intention was to talk to Dre and maybe scare Dre, but not harm Dre. And so he said that, he was only going to talk to Dre, and the purpose of the gun was for him to protect himself in this bad neighborhood. So I'm just giving y'all the information. Y'all don't judge me, judge them. So then he jumped to YL and the insurance company policies. I then put my observation was I honestly zoned out at this point until Judge Ross started talking on the mic due to an objection from the government. So I have no idea. He started talking about the insurance policies and YL, and I think I started texting somebody or responding to a VIP text community message, and I didn't realize I had zoned out until I heard George Ross's voice, and it made me like look up at the screen like, oh wait, they still doing this. So I can't tell you what he said. So it was shenanigans, whatever it was. Y'all already know. So then I put another observation, because at this point I'm so like I've zoned out. So then I'm looking around the overflow room, and then I wrote down that it was at 80% capacity, because that's what my mind was. It's like, give me something interesting to do. So then he talks about Michael Leonard, then goes on to talk about the phone calls that Tim made impersonating Dre with the insurance company was not provided. So the prosecution has talked about this, that now we saw the text messages, we saw the plan, we saw YL and Tim talking about, YL saying, hey man, I need you to take this call and blah, 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 and I need you to act like you're Dre. And then we saw Tim responding, not with, no, man, I ain't finna do that. That's not honest. He's like, oh, okay, what I'm gonna have to say? Give me his information. I need like birthday, height, weight, whatever, all his personal information, because I don't really know my nephew, because I don't really like my nephew. Like, yeah, it didn't go like that. It was just him saying, give me the information. I'm gonna go ahead and do what you're asking me to do. Excuse me, y'all. Then at that point, I was very happy to hear Judge Ross give the 2-minute warning. I was like, thank you, Jesus. This is almost over. So then attorney Michael Leonard was off mic again. He was off mic again. And then I heard something to the effect of, don't go by hype. No, don't go by hype or voice raising. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see that. Yeah. It's just blah, 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 blah. So that's pretty much how he ended it, with don't go by hype or voice raising. Because I feel like he came back around to what I said in the beginning, which to me was an insult to a woman artfully presenting her closing argument. I don't like that kind of stuff. But anyway, the government then comes back. So now we have it's Angie Davis, right? Good Lord, y'all, I'm so bad with names. I don't mean any offense. I'm just bad with names. Oh, that's the wrong text message. Oh, give me a second, y'all. Give me a second, because here we go. This is what I want. Angie Danis. So Angie Danis then comes. So remember, in the beginning, Gwen Carroll did the first 30 minutes of the closing argument. Now Angie Danis is coming back for the. Is that right? I don't know, y'all. Hold on. Let me see. Did I write it? I think I'm having a false memory. One of them came back. I don't think I wrote it down in my brain, and I wasn't in the courtroom, so like my visual is different. And I told y'all on the monitor in the media room, we can like barely see them because it cuts their body off. So yeah, I can't say 100%. I could have a false memory. So it was one of the government attorneys. So then she starts to talk about how the defense can't refute the testimony of Darren is it Daryl Howard, about dropping off the money. They have proof that he dropped off the money. They got the picture of the cash with the rubber bands, and the rubber bands also match the cash. The rubber bands that's in the picture that Travell had, because he asked him to take a picture because he was trying to prove that the money actually did exchange hands. She said that they can't refute that. Then she talked about how she said, I love her. I think it was Gwen again. I'm pretty sure it was Gwen. Can anybody there who could correct me who was there? But anyway, she then says the defendant sat up there for 4 hours and spun this tale because that's what he does. Ooh, she was reading him his rights. Then she talked about you can't believe a word that comes out of this man's mouth. She was on it. She says his wealth was a lie, which is why he had an Amex judgment for over $200,000. She reminded us of what she showed us yesterday. Oh, I love it. And then she says he lied to the producers on the show about being who he wasn't. So this was a read or a dragging or some shade as it pertained to Tim presenting when he, shopped the show around and they ended up picking up the show. He presented it as like they're a wholesome family, him and his mom, by the bootstraps, rags to riches story, that whole sort of thing. What he left out was that, besides his, arrest, they did know about the prison stuff, but they didn't know that he was currently, dealing with, prostitutes and all of that stuff and all the other shenanigans he was involved in. So she was like, he lied to them too. Like his whole life is a lie. He's a lie. He's a walking lie. So then she says, ooh, this was good too. She was reading his rights. She then says the only time he became emotional was when he was talking about his buddy Travell or himself, because that's all he cares about is himself. She wasn't playing with him. And she said, and not a tear for Dre. I can close this live with that because that's the truth. No matter how much Dre got mentioned, he never gave real emotion. He would become more solemn in his responses, but it was the actor in him, in my opinion, allegedly. But tears and all of that, the only time you saw tears was when Travell was testifying about how Tim had been there for him and flew him to California because he was going through some stuff. And then all of a sudden we hear, I didn't do it. That was an emotion. That was the first time we saw emotion. And then not again until he was boohooing yesterday, talking about how he was mentoring the youth. Like, I'm such a great person. I was trying to teach them that you could sell some chicken and become rich. Like that was the only time we saw emotion from Tim. And it's true. Not a one time did we see a tear or a fake cry even. At least fake it. You faked it for the other stuff. Fake it. Act like you care. Give us something. He didn't give us nothing when it came to Dre. Anyway, so then she goes on, continuing to read and drag and read. So she says, have you seen the story? She said, you have seen the story that the defendant spun for you, and it was a lie. You now have seen behind the veil, and it's ugly. Oh, she was getting at him. Oh, I wish y'all could have been there. And then, yeah, that wait, is that it? Ooh, what's that? It? Oh, okay, yeah. That was a closing argument. So that ends that, they did the formalities with that. Judge Ross then gives the jury, their final, telling them whatever he was telling them. And then the jury was excused out. So then, okay, good. We almost done. And then let's see where we at. Okay, so then I'll have time for a few questions. Okay, moderators, you won't need to backstage moderators. You won't need to start anything else because I won't get through the 43 that y'all have here. So that's good for now. I'm gonna work through as many as I can before we call it a night. But we ain't doing over 2 hours tonight. It ain't happening. Because I gotta still wait and see what the jury gonna do. So I still gotta get up early. So anyway, so that happens. And so now we are then dismissed, just kind of like, go about your business and we'll let you know when you need to come back. And that's why, we got this live pushback, because that lasted way longer than I thought. So we all left, family and friends and all of that. People are hanging out around, like, some people went out or whatever, but people are in the building. People are, the families are sequestered in different areas of the building. And we just were waiting. We're waiting to see when the jury will come back. They will come back. I was going to say if they come back. They probably don't want to come back with all this. But when they come back, we don't know. We don't know. So please don't ask me that question, because I don't know. Thank you all for the cash apps, because my phone is going off like crazy over here. I really appreciate y'all. Had me crying this morning with it. Oh my God, it's been a whirlwind. But anyway, so we were waiting around, and it's like you can't go too far. Like, I couldn't come here, like my charger. I left my charger here. I couldn't come back here and grab the charger and go back, because we would get like all of maybe as little as a 10-minute notice that the jury is ready to give their verdict. So you can't go too far. So after business hours, after they lock the building, you can stay in the building as late as whenever. There's no limit. But once you leave the building, once they close it, you can't come back in. So it's kind of like we have to just wait around. Tomorrow I'll be more prepared for that, now knowing that. But anyway, so what occurred was probably an hour or so into the deliberation, somewhere up in there, the jury then put out a note or a request for Judge Ross, like they needed a question answered. And so then we're notified as the media, we get like messages like, hey, they're about to, they have a question for Judge Ross. And so then we run back into the courtroom and like, okay, let me see what else we're writing down, what's happening. So the first request was they wanted additional information. I'm sorry. They wanted additional evidence that was not provided. So, they got some of the evidence and they were like looking for certain things. And they're like, well, what happened to that? What happened to that? And they were like, can we get it all? And the response was some of the evidence that they are requesting was not available to them. And it was, I forgot the term he used. Y'all know I'm not an attorney or anything, but basically it was not evidence for them to actually have their hands on. And so with the exception of, they were requesting the flight records for Andre, the Southwest Airlines flight records for Andre and Terica. Maybe they misspoke, because Terica didn't have no flight records, but I don't know. I think it's just Andre, his flight records when he flew in to St. Louis from Dallas, I think, or it was Texas. When he flew in from Texas to St. Louis on Southwest Airlines, they wanted those flight records. Then they wanted also the text messages between Tim and his attorney in Texas, the one who had actually, went after Forrester's Financial for not paying Tim, paying him out, and she was trying to, get them to pay out. And so they wanted those text messages. So then that was it. So they talked about that, and they, decided like they can have that, but they can't have the other stuff because it wasn't meant for them to have it. Then, we went back, we left out the courtroom. We hanging out in the media room. We talking, we doing stuff. We talking shop. Chronicle Speaks and JSO Extra, whose channel is Today's Celebrity News. I'm still trying to remember her channel name, her new channel name. But anyway, we were, talking shop, talking Facebook, YouTube, and social media shop, which was really cool. So, and most of y'all know Chronicle Speaks, but if you don't, run over there. And if you don't know Today's Celebrity News, run over there, promoting my friends, my YouTube friends. So anyway, we're talking. The next thing you know, we get another message, ping, that the jury now has a second question. So then we run across the hall with our pen and paper, and we're, saying what they're talking about now. So then they said they wanted, so at this point, well, both times, I think both times, Tim is actually in there as well. So he was definitely there the second time. I think the first time I might have just been unfocused, so I wasn't paying attention that Tim was in there as well. But the second time, we got in there before he did, and so he was marched in, in shackles, handcuffs, and then he was set down in his normal, usual place. What I noticed is that Tim was yarning again. So little Timmy was tired, or Big Timmy, because he got a little Tim. Big Tim was tired. But I also noticed that he was laughing with attorney Michael Leonard, because one thing that was stated was when the jury had a question for the judge, Judge Ross, the first time, it was kind of encouraging for the defense that, oh, this ain't finna be a slam dunk for the prosecution. The jury has questions, so that means there's maybe some level of doubt. Now, if I remember correctly, and I don't know, I think they decide based on your group of jurors, you guys decide how it rolls, if I'm not mistaken. But they usually, at least on TV, they take a vote in the beginning and say, hey, what you think? What raise who all think guilty, who all whatever. And if it matches up, they'll be like, okay, we ready. Let's go. If it doesn't is when they start trying to break things down and looking at more evidence, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know how they decided to handle it. They got a foreman and all of that. But they had more questions. So this is good for the defense. This feels like, we might have a chance here. So on some level. So the second note from the jury was that they wanted all of the text messages presented as evidence, please. So this was a quote. Can we have all of the text messages presented in evidence, please? So this was from the foreman. Plus, they wanted Dre's text message to Tim. So remember, I mentioned in one of our days, they're all blurring together for me now, but I mentioned in one of the days that Dre had sent Tim a text message stating that he loved Tim. He was thanking Tim for everything he was doing for him. He was saying, he knew he was trying to help him, and that he was basically going to do better because he could never be a millionaire basically doing what his friends were doing or whatever. That's like me. That's not verbatim. But anyway, so they wanted that text message. Both sides, both counsels agreed that they could have that. And then they wanted also the text message with Andre's instructor, Mr. Napa, at the Dre's Nelly school. That's not right. At Nelly's music school. I'm tired, y'all. My brain is doing stuff with the thoughts. So they wanted that. However, when evidence was submitted, Tim's attorney attempted to submit the whole text message thread. It was like multiple pages of it or whatever. The government had objected to that because they were like, some of this stuff, and I think that's the stuff that got into the guy's opinion of Dre's behavior or what he was doing or wasn't doing in school or dropping out and all of whatever. They didn't want that admitted because, again, they agreed that they weren't going to drag Tim basically about his history, and they weren't going to drag Andre. It was an agreement between both sides. So this text message starts one way, and then it's the defense trying to sneak in some not so great things about Dre. So what they agreed to was like, hey, we didn't agree to all of that. That all did not get admitted into evidence. What got admitted was like page 1 of kind of stuff, not all 5 or 6 or whatever pages. So they were trying to figure that out. And they kind of got that resolved and decided, yes, we're okay with that, but you can't give them that whole piece of evidence. What I noticed at that point was Judge Ross was, I put, visibly frustrated with trying to decipher which parts of exhibits A, B, and F were admitted and what part of F. And F, I think, was the one, exhibit F, whatever number it was a part of this confusing text messages thread between the instructor and Tim. So he was Judge Ross at that point. He was flipping through. What I hadn't noticed is that Judge Ross had a whole legal pad of as many notes as I had. And so he was like, I don't see, he flipping through his stuff like I'd be flipping through. And he was like, I'm trying to see here. And he was like, what I have here is not that exhibit was accepted with this and blah, blah, blah. And so he was a little frustrated because what they were saying wasn't aligning with what he wrote, and he knew what he had been doing was right. So anyway, he ended up having to send Michael Leonard out. Michael Leonard's team, or Tim's, attorney team, they all weren't there. I think they went out to lunch or something, and so only Michael Leonard. Because remember, when they call us in for a question, or them, they ain't calling me in for no questions. When they call them in for a question, there's like pretty much zero notice. It's like, come over here right now. Like, so everybody's just at beck and call. So Michael Leonard ended up saying, okay, well, I need to go run basically to his office space there, or conference room, and look for this particular piece of evidence, like the hard copy of it. And while he was gone to do that, then Miss Rodriguez, Attorney Rodriguez, I should say, showed up with their other I don't know. I think she's an assistant or paralegal, but I'm not sure. So they then showed up, and then Judge Ross, out of his frustration, was like, do you have this, blah, 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 this and that. I don't think he realized that they had literally just come in from lunch and they not really up to speed. I think he thought maybe they touched bases with Attorney Leonard and then came in, but I could tell there was some like confusion. And Attorney Rodriguez came in talking to Tim immediately, and Judge Ross interrupted her to ask her basically, where's what I need, basically. So then he was like, well, can you go get it? So then she goes out. So it's a little like Three Stooges like. But anyway, she goes out, and then Michael Leonard returns, and he returns with what he needed. And he came back within 3 to 5 minutes. What else I have? Yeah, I talked about that part. So then we're almost done with this. Okay. Let's see what else I want to remember. Oh, I put here as one of my observations that Tim, in my opinion, I was starting to wonder, is Tim getting cocky or is he getting hopeful? Because he just seemed a little more, he seemed upbeat. You know, he was talking with Attorney Rodriguez a little bit and, you know, smiling. He just seemed lighter. He just seemed lighter. He didn't seem as stoic, you know. So I was like, is he getting cocky or is he hopeful? Might be a combination of both. Anyway, whatever. So basically, they were still looking for some of the stuff. Judge Ross was like, well, we'll give them what we have, and then you guys continue to, you know, gather what you need, and then we'll give that to them after, and we'll let them know that it's on its way. So like, let's wrap this up. Y'all wasting my time. I'm trying to get back to catching up on Judge Mathis, whatever he's doing in his office while he waits. So then he talked about how he was going to check in with the jury, because at this time it was like 3:40 p.m. And I'm like, oh my God, we got our live stream at 6. I told them at 6. This is going to be hard for me to make it home and then remember to plug in my laptop, which we see what I didn't do. So anyway, he said that Judge Ross then said that he was going to check in with the jury around 5 p.m. and then see if they wanted them to order dinner or not, or if they would elect to go home. We went back, you know, in our media space, and I was trying to keep busy. I had plenty to keep me busy with my, you know, I ain't have my chargers and stuff, so that was a problem. But anyway, we sat there, and then we got word that they had checked in with the jury. The jury, thank God, decided that they wanted to go home too, because had they not said they wanted to go home, then we would have been kind of waiting around, and I asked the question, how late would the jury be allowed to stay and deliberate? And they told us, and this was like the clerk in the overflow space was telling us, that's not her official title, and I'm forgetting her official title, but she was telling us that she's been around a long time, and she said that she's gone as late as 2 or 3 a.m. And I was like, Jesus, I would have been canceling this live, y'all. So thank God that did not happen, and hopefully it don't happen tomorrow either. So where we left off is the jury is still in deliberation, or whatever the proper word is. I don't know. I'm a layman. I don't know. I'm a blogger. I'm a YouTuber. But anyway, they are at home resting. What time is it? Hopefully they're getting good sleep so they can think hard tomorrow and think fast. And they'll return at 8:45 a.m. and then we will see what happens. They might come with a decision. They might need more time. They might take days. We don't know. So we will see. But thank all of you who have stuck in here with me for this long. I really appreciate it. So what I'm going to do real quick is go through some of our super chat messages. Unfortunately, because of the sake of time, I'm only going to answer super chat questions. And we're going to have a Q&A live. It will be whatever day that there's nothing really happening. I'm going to take that evening and it will be earlier. Like, I didn't like this 8 p.m. time. I didn't want to make it any earlier because I was afraid I wasn't going to make it to y'all in time and then have to push y'all again. I like to respect your time, but today I didn't do it. So y'all going to get me kicked out this Airbnb. Y'all so silly. Anyway, so Jesus, I need these guys. I be sometimes forgetting. And I think I need bifocals because y'all see how I had to take them off. And Lord Jesus, agent. All right. So here's one here. So we have first, y'all abbreviating and it's late and I can't figure out what I'm reading. For the night, first, second for the night. I don't know. I've been here since 8 p.m. East waiting for. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I'm only giving you that because you sent me the super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. And if you don't know, now you know, Ninja. There you go. Great job, man. We appreciate your hard work. I really appreciate y'all. Y'all showing me so much love. This has been so encouraging. Had y'all known what I was going through a few weeks ago, as far as even being like, should I continue on this level that I'm continuing with this? Anyway, I appreciate all of your hard work thus on this trial. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Carol Chamberlain. And I'm not going to read everybody's name just because you see yourself on the screen. I'm a little tired, and so I don't want to be messing up names left and right. But you've done an excellent job. You are appreciated. Thank you so much. You are appreciated, World of Beauty. See, I don't know what that is. That first part, Taz? I don't know. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for your super chat. Thank you. What we got? Thank you. Thank you, Wanda Cross. I'm going to try it. Thank you, Belladonna. Thank you for covering this veil. We appreciate you. Thank you, Tahara Marie, maybe. Thank you, Maddie's mama. See, Angie's Hull. Y'all gonna see how illiterate I am. Thank you for the awesome job, Veil. Thank you so much for supporting me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the meticulous updates. Job well done. Y'all don't know, I developed a callus on my finger. I had one of them pins was like digging in my finger. So I've earned my stripes for sure. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for the is that the same thing? Oh no, that's a different one. Thank you. Thank you for clarifications. You are humble and have integrity. I try to be. Sometimes, you know, I got an ego just like everybody else. Every once in a while I get out of control. I don't get out of control, but every once in a while, you know, my mama check me. DMP, thank you so much for the super chat. Sherry Hicks, thank you so much for the super chat. Miss Too Lovely, thank you. Thank you for the beautiful hard work on this trial. Thank you, Beauty and Silver Kinks. I don't see no question. I thought y'all was gonna have questions too. Nurse Kwan, thank you so much. Oh, thank you twice. You did it twice. I appreciate you. I doubly appreciate you. Ava, thank you so much for the super chat. Oh, sorry, you didn't get no super chat. I can't announce you. I'm becoming one of those YouTubers. But no, if you want to, so for the Q&A, I don't even know if I finished the thought. For the Q&A that we'll do on whatever night that we don't have an update for what's happened, like tomorrow, for instance, well, we technically probably will have an update because this is the part I didn't know, that during this, the jury is going to have questions and notes and all of that. And so it might be a day full of that. I don't know yet. It may not. But if we end up with like not a lot to cover tomorrow, then I'll do the Q&A. The Q&A will be designated for VIP community text message members who ask me questions. I'm already compiling the list. I got already like 20 questions from our VIP text community. That's free. So I ain't trying to hear like, you charging to answer questions now. Yeah, if you come through the super chat, if you just on YouTube, yes. But if you want to ask a free question, become a part of the VIP text community. It's just a give and take here, give and take. So, but other than that, I'll answer questions from the super chat. And then those questions I'm compiling from our VIP text community members, because these people are offering that extra layer of support. And therefore, I want to offer them extra. I didn't do it. Y'all not gonna keep having me do that. Y'all gonna get me kicked out for real because I don't know who's living above me. Okay, so how am I on time out for saying there's I don't know, there's something. Okay, so this might be something happening with the moderation. I'll look at this during the chat, and I don't know if I'll be able to answer you or not, but I don't know what's happening. And if there needs to be any adjustments made on our rules, I will consider that. Felicia Williams, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. What happened here? Did I do that one? Thank you so much for the super chat. I think that was all. Yay. Yay. All right. Well, we have made it to the end of this live. We are right at almost 2 hours. I thought I was going to actually go over a little bit. I talked about that. Thank all of you who have given, Cash Apps, the Zelles, the Venmos. Again, PayPal is coming soon. So I really appreciate you guys. Oh, y'all blessed me so much. And I really, 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 really appreciate y'all. Y'all literally had me crying this morning. And I'm gonna give that testimony, and we're gonna, this platform is about being purpose driven, and I want to encourage many of you who are holding back on your dreams because of your insecurities or making excuses, all of that stuff. Step out on faith, and I promise you that God will open the doors for you. And delay does not mean denial. So, also thank you to my moderators. Thank you to I'm going to pull you up. You can say something on camera, but thank you to this internet is slowing down, but thank you so much to my moderators, my backstage moderators, Alice, blessed child of God, and also Go Gadget Bridget, your long tongue twisting name, my birthday twin, and Alice, blessed child of God. If you ladies want to just say hi to the people, it's all good.
Hello, people. Put your face in there.
Hi. I think they already heard me though. Hey.
Yeah, I don't know if Alice is occupied in a moment, but I'm gonna drop you ladies down. But I wanted you to just say hi to the peoples and them to hear your beautiful voices and know, who's back here helping us with this community.
Thanks for all the super chats. We love you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because you guys get to see the moderators on the front end, but you don't necessarily get to see the ones on the back end. And we'll be rotating. So there's, if there's other people who moderators who want to, be able to come backstage and stuff, hit me up in the VIP text community. We're gonna work that type of stuff out. So with that, I thank you guys. It is approaching the 2-hour mark, and I thank you guys for coming for another live. And we'll be back tomorrow, hopefully at 6 p.m. I don't know for sure. I may schedule it for that, but I got to kind of roll with what's happening with the trial, because the reason I'm coming live, at least right now, is to bring you updates. So please don't give me too much with these times. But my goal is 6 p.m. because I like the earlier lives myself. But if it is not, trust me, it ain't going to be because I'm lazy and I don't want to, because I want it as early as possible. But with that, thank all of you. Everyone have a great night. Be blessed. Be blessed. Y'all can tell I'm tired. Be blessed. Be safe. And until next time, until I upload the next video, yeah, we'll see you next time.